Well, welcome back. Welcome back to Live on Patrol. Been an exciting last few days for us here at the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office. And we want to start by letting you know what happened Friday night. And to be honest with you, things are going to happen on this job. Our number one concern is the safety of the citizens that we serve. And when we have an opportunity to arrest one of our top 10 active criminals, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we arrest them. And that's what happened Friday. We received information that one of our carjackers with a warrant, and actually, Alex, can you go see if we can grab that warrant? I think Mike might have a copy of it. Had it with a warrant out of Ramsey County. Someone that we had been looking for some time. Actually, it was a carjacker from Rosedale Mall. We had two carjackers from Rosedale Mall that were on the loose. And, serious in that both of them had guns involved at the time of their incidents. So we got some tips, and we had to move quickly. And we were hoping that we would arrest the suspect quickly and be able to come back on Live on Patrol and high five and say that was all success. That was Friday night, but unfortunately we didn't find the suspect Friday. We ended up working Saturday and Sunday night, late into the night as well, and then we ended up arresting the suspect yesterday. And I'll just show you the copy. I'll show you a picture of the suspect. This is Darius Smith. Darius Smith is 20-year-old. You want to go ahead? Gerald. Yeah, but Gerald Darius Smith. Perfect. Gerald Darius Smith. Nickname is G Money. And there was 3 warrants for his arrest. One of those was for the carjacking at Rosedale Mall. And we actually have received information yesterday that he was en route to the casino at Turtle Lake Casino in Wisconsin. So we sent a couple CAT team members over there. They notified the Barron County Sheriff's Office, the Turtle Lake Police Department. Actually, Director Kyle Meestead went as well. He was a communication liaison, and we successfully, Barron County arrested him, and he's in Barron County Jail awaiting extradition to return to Ramsey County. So, I just want you to know those types of incidents are going to happen where we have to cut off Live on Patrol. We don't like to. It's only happened maybe once or twice in 230 broadcasts, and we're sorry about that, but I'm sure you agree that sometimes we just have to put the safety of the public ahead of our broadcast. Pat?
This was an intense 5-day manhunt, for lack of a better word. We were aggressively seeking to arrest him before his violence escalated further. There had been numerous driving incidents with him, very reckless, including at least one accident involving him, and we really wanted to get him. The entire team had their lives turned upside down since the middle of last week seeking Gerald Smith. And, regarding our cutting it off early on Friday night, we kept thinking this next tip is going to be the one we're going to get him. We're going to get him. And we're going to be able to go back live and say, hey, we're back live. We got the guy we were after. Thanks to your patience. Well, that happened a number of times throughout the night. And next thing we knew, it was 5 a.m. and the birds were chirping. And I was never able to put an update on there. And I hope you understand why that could have happened. I wish I could have. But this was job number 1 for us during this. And as a side note, on the way out to Turtle Lake yesterday, I had to stop and get gas. Halfway there, I was running out of gas. But it was the CAT team members who were on scene and made the arrest did an amazing job.
Yeah, and our thanks to the Barron County Sheriff, who was there personally, and his deputies, and the Turtle Lake Police Department. They all did an amazing job of helping bring who we believe a dangerous suspect. And we know that he's carried guns on a number of occasions. Little side note to this, when we were on surveillance of one of the houses that we knew he stayed at late last week, there was a carjacking of a woman on Portland near Snelling, Portland and Saratoga. And she was dragged in the car for a while. We talked to you about this. It was a Saturn Vue. No, Vue, right? Vue?
Saturn Vue, yeah.
Vue, I don't know why I say Vue all the time.
I don't.
Saturn Vue. And within 15 minutes of that carjacking, the car came flying by the address that we were on surveillance on. And actually, Pat noticed it. And it might have been even 10 minutes. It was like a beeline from, and we were on surveillance in Minneapolis. It was a beeline from the Portland address over there to Minneapolis. And we've known for some time that sometimes these younger carjackers will bring cars to the older kids and get some financial. Now, we don't know for certain that happened, but it was very unusual that the Saturn Vue would show up. And then later that night, we saw the suspect driving the Saturn Vue. And we had a short chase over on the east side, and he fled at a high rate of speed, and we didn't apprehend him. And then even later that night, we found the car parked near a residence of a relative. So we know that he's been involved in a lot of other stuff. We know that he was in another stolen blue Mazda day before yesterday. So this is why it was important for us to curtail Live on Patrol and move on. And
this whole 5-day investigation into this, during the course of that, and related to locations that we were looking for Gerald at, we must have recovered half a dozen other stolen cars.
Right.
Made a half a dozen other arrests. Got a firearm off of a convicted felon who was ineligible to carry a firearm.
An associate of his.
And it just, the entanglements of different people, locations, vehicles, and circumstances was incredible. This was eye-opening, and we developed a lot of intelligence because of this.
That's part of the thing about surveillance. This is the warrant, the Ramsey County warrant, 3 counts, and great job by the Roseville Police Department. Aggravated robbery, first degree, motor vehicle theft, and possession of a firearm as well, and by an ineligible. So 3 solid charges. And that warrant was sworn out on April 13th, and so we're 2 weeks down the road. Basically, it took 2 weeks for us to find him. We've been searching for him for 2 weeks. So also yesterday, another carjacker, we won't mention his name today, but another carjacker from about 2 months ago at Rosedale Mall was arrested. And Alex has been working with one of our federal partners to make sure that happens, but he's in custody. And if you saw today, Andy Luger had a press conference today saying that he's going to attempt to charge as many of these carjackers federally as possible. And this is a message to a lot of the young 17, 18-year-olds out there. If you put a gun in someone's face or punch them or use physical force to take their car, you are going to be prosecuted by the federal government, and you're going to serve much, much more time under the federal system. So make a decision today that that's not the life you want. And we thank our U.S. Attorney Andrew Luger for that initiative. Patrick, anything else?
If you're into this, it's a path you don't want to remain on, because all that awaits you is as much as a decade plus in a federal penitentiary.
Yeah. So Alex is going to come up here in a minute. They're going to do the crime update. I just wanted to understand. But before I do, I just want to mention again that if you have any friends, relatives searching for a great educational opportunity, the School of Leadership for Public Service is something that I've been involved in. I just want to mention it's going to be at down at Hamlin and Blair. So don't forget to check the School of Leadership for Public Service out. even if you look at some of the pictures, I don't know if Alex is in here. I don't know, Handsome Al. I got to get some of those younger guys in here. The old guys are in this brochure. But Bill Finney and Bob Fletcher. School of Leadership for Public Service, we've talked about it several times. And if you go online, it's at leadershipforpublicservice.org, or you can call this number. Call this number and, just 651-492-5487. 692-492-5487, or email contact@leadershipforpublicservice.org. And you can get some more information. There'll be an open house coming up here in the next 2 weeks. Finally, I want to say this morning, Bill Finney and I appeared at the Ramsey County Board for proclamation for Correctional Officers Week. It's National Correctional Officers Week. And let me say there's no tougher job. Pat and I always say we think that that's the toughest job. We get out in the community when you're trapped inside a custodial facility taking care of other serious and violent offenders. There really isn't any tougher job than that. So our thanks go out to our correctional officers for everything they're doing. If you get a chance, actually I'm going to post a part of my presentation to the county board later today on Live on Patrol. It's just a short presentation. But we have some issues in terms of overcrowding, in terms of the number of people that are in our facility, and we're going to need to find a way to fix that before we get to July or August. So it's been terrible. Alex, you want to come up and go over some of the crime stats?
Sure.
And by the way, just for those of you that are asking, Pat and I just want to say one thing. It's coming, right? Alex was not a part of the arrest at Turtle Lake Casino. So in case you were wondering, he was out of town doing some teaching. Otherwise, he would have been the first one there. We know that. So.
Can't be everywhere.
Would have gone airborne.
Let me grab my Mountain Dew there while I watch you.
Can I cover a couple city things here
Absolutely.
first? Were you going to discuss him? Because we
Yes.
were looking for him on the live
Yep.
a couple times. Okay. That Saturn View or View, I did it again, that Bob was talking about.
We speak French here. It's fine.
Right. Taken in the carjacking and that ended up in Minneapolis. Friday night, about 4 hours before we went live, St. Paul officers recovered that when it crashed and made 2 arrests in relation to the carjacking. Gerald Smith was not in it at the time, which is why the manhunt for him continued through the weekend. And just last night, about 9:30, there was another strong-arm carjacking where a DoorDash driver was picking up some food, and he left the car running when he went into Taco Bell, and a man jumped in and took off with it, and we don't recommend doing this. The victim jumped on top of his own vehicle and ended up being driven 8 to 10 blocks while on top of his vehicle before it hit a curb and knocked him off, and then subsequently it disabled the car. So we urge you once again, if your car gets stolen and it's running, you're a victim of a crime, no argument there. But make it harder for people to take your vehicle. Don't leave it running, please.
Well, I think the most important thing is that cars are replaceable, right? We know, especially here, that we can fix cars. And the one thing we can't fix as well or often sometimes ever is a human's life. And we can't replace another person's life. So, short of, a child being in the car, something like that, take photos with your phone, get away from the vehicle. If they're going to take it, they're going to take it. And, as much as we all like to think that we can fight off an attacker or whatever, it's not one person. Usually it's 2, 3, 4, and it's a numbers game. And even somebody, like any of us who, do this for a living, you're still looking at a gross disadvantage against 4 people because the numbers went out every time. And, you hate hearing about people getting hurt. There's been people seriously hurt. I know there was a 70-year-old, I think 2 summers ago, he had a severe head injury. He tried to fight off the attacker, and, again, it's human instinct to protect your property and stuff like that. But, unfortunately, the person was put in the ICU and seriously injured. And that's just heartbreaking to hear. And it's horrible that it happens. And the officers in St. Paul and the rest of this county are working 24 hours a day to catch these people. But we just, it tears the officers up, too, to hear that somebody was innocent, was injured, especially when they have an opportunity to flee and get away.
Absolutely.
So, but otherwise, it's been busy out in the county too. Those who don't live in Minnesota and aren't used to it, for a good chunk of the year, it's pretty much the planet Hoth. It's -30 here. You can stand on the ice and fish, which is a foreign concept to some people down south. You explain you're on a lake, not in it. It's pretty interesting. But so as we see the weather start getting nice and the sun's out more, and you can actually see the grass on people's front yards versus the white stuff. The crime tends to go up. We're still seeing a lot of catalytic converter thefts, but now they're just stealing from pretty much any car, especially the bigger trucks, the F-250s, F-350s, stuff of that size. There's more, I guess, palladium in the converter. It's one of those deals. Park under a street light. If you have the ability to park your car in a garage, it's never a bad idea. But just be aware of your surroundings and make it a little bit harder for these guys. There are some products you can now put on your converter or etch them in. There's some local businesses that are offering. You can look online that'll actually etch in your VIN number in your converter, which makes it worthless for them to steal because then they can be tracked back to the actual converter. But otherwise, we talk about law enforcement working together. Our deputies assisted Roseville Police Department recently. They had a person bailed on foot from a vehicle. Deputies were able to locate the suspect and were able to take him into custody after de-escalating the situation and getting him corralled up. So that was really good police work by the Roseville Police Department and our deputies. And then again, we've had some burglary upticks, stuff like that. The small stuff, if you're leaving the house, make sure your front and back doors are locked. The windows are shut and closed. In Minnesota, we forget because of the winter, we get used to our windows being shut, and it's one of those things where you got to just take a minute. And nobody should ever enter your home. We're not saying that it's right, but you just have to make yourself a little bit harder of a target to hit. Motion lights are always great, stuff like that. And then recently we had a deputy. We were looking for a party in a black Chrysler 300. He fled from me. He fled from another one of our officers as well in St. Paul. That was the one that I said that had the smoked out back windows and stuff like that. That person tried to flee from our deputies the other night. A short 2-minute pursuit that covered 2 miles was initiated. They actually ended up discontinuing the pursuit due to the driving conduct, but the party exited on Little Canada Road and wasn't able to negotiate the turn due to their speed, which isn't unheard of that we see, and crashed into a side of a building that was unoccupied, thankfully, and then bailed on foot. Another deputy was able to chase him down on foot and catch him, and that party's now sitting in custody. He had several different warrants, and he also had warrants for possession of a firearm by a felon, drugs, fleet police in a motor vehicle, not surprising, and then a Ramsey County felony domestic warrant. So, as well as some suspected narcotics on him by the time he was arrested. So, really good work by the deputies, teamwork. They started at 694 in Victoria, which is northwest of that location, went all the way down to 35E, and then having your partners waiting for you at 35E in Little Canada is always a nice feeling when you're chasing someone. Indeed. So. Really good teamwork there by the deputies and people on the lookout. Again, this was another person that wouldn't have gotten caught, had we not, pursued the vehicle when it was safe to do so, or, we mitigated the public's risk.
And, as a side note on that, the last couple of weeks during the Live on Patrol, Bob and I were at a couple of locations where he was raising havoc and attempted to assist in arresting him. You might remember over on Pedersen Street where he was involved in a domestic and fled out the back door. Another domestic on Pedersen Street where he fled on a crotch rocket. I think that was this past Friday night. And then we were looking for him up on Manton Street off of Larpenteur also. So there's a little connection between the Live on Patrol and this latest arrest of him.
Yeah. And it just takes the right deputy at the right time in the right location. There's never enough to be said about having a little luck on your side. So that's great police work. Like I said, the deputies are out working hard. They're going to be working in the parks, trying to prevent some auto thefts from autos. Again, just goes back to what we talk about, those little preventative steps, putting your satchel or your purse or your backpack beneath the seat before you go somewhere. making sure you lock in the car doors, but lock in the center console or your glove box. You put a key in there. Please don't leave your guns in your cars. You know, if you're going to go somewhere overnight, it's not the best spot to put your AR-15 in your trunk. So reason why we bring it up is it does happen, and unfortunately then somebody who shouldn't have a gun has a firearm, and that makes it inherently dangerous for all of us. So with that,
You got anything else? We'll go to
No,
questions.
wraps it up.
I'll switch with you.
Perfect.
There, thank you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you very much. If you got a question for our turtle crosser, let us know.
Well, oddly enough, that one did come up, and a viewer did ask, "What is that?"
That is a
Teenage Mutant
Well-
Ninja Gingerbread Turtle.
gingerbread turtle. This is a turtle designed to have people slow down. There's usually a red flag so that people can cross the street. A lot of citizens buy it to make sure their kids don't get struck or injured when they're crossing at an intersection. They shouldn't have to, but people have. And we ran across this guy one night, and Pat thought he was trying to cross the street. Yeah, I don't know what episode that was, but he tried to get. We stopped for him because we thought he was crossing the street, and Pat said, "Hey, go ahead, you can cross." The guy never crossed. He wouldn't listen. Then we found out he wasn't really a turtle. So someone sent us one. So we didn't take the one on the street, but someone did send us one, and it's in our Live on Patrol collection here at the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office. So thanks so much.
So not a lot of questions so far, but hopefully they start coming in. But Matthew is curious if you'd ever recommend installing a GPS in your car so it could be tracked in the event it's ever stolen.
Highly, highly recommend it. And Alex, maybe you can jump in here in a minute and talk about the different companies that do track. You can just speak on the end here. But yes, they have simple GPS trackers you can put in your car. It goes into the port. I know that because I experimented with one for my son, 16-year-old son. Not so much that I wanted to know where he was, but just in case the car got taken. But it also tells you how fast they're going, by the way. And so the other option is to leave a small little puck. We have small little GPS trackers, but it really is helpful for us if we can determine where the car is after it's stolen or carjacked. But Alex has developed a connection with several companies, and he won't tell you which companies can't track, but most can nowadays, newer cars. Alex?
yeah, just about every major auto manufacturer provides a subscription service that you can pay for a month. And I don't know the cost. Usually it's about $30 to $35, but also different. Sirius XM also has a tracking service because they help you navigate, so it works the opposite way. So all those things are great. You know, I know that not everybody has the means to do it, but you know, for me, for my money, $30 a month, I can skip a couple of Starbucks trips or Dunkin' Donuts trips for coffee and, you know, justify it because, like I said, it's invaluable to find it. Some services can slow your car down, stop it, put an ignition lock on, stuff like that, which is huge for preventing a pursuit or getting your car back once it's been dumped.
OnStar is one of the premier ones, but every major manufacturer will have some type of option for you. Kyle?
You know, Matthew had a follow-up question too, is should your car get stolen, is there a number you can call to give permission to get ahead of that so we can track and hopefully recover, or what's the best thing to do when that happens?
Generally, Alex can fill in, but generally we want you to call the manufacturer and find out if your car is trackable.
Yeah, so obviously your first call should be to 911, and when you talk to the police officer, you can ask them, they can put in the stolen entry that the GPS tracking is allowed. That helps us out locally especially, so they can do that. It's super easy for them to do. And then, yeah, just call your auto manufacturer as soon as you can. People always say, well, I don't have my car. How do I know the information? Well, they actually need your VIN number, which is on your insurance card. So if you have any of your insurance paperwork or you carry your insurance on your phone, you'll actually have your VIN number, and that's what they need to track your information.
And if it happens in Ramsey County, call us. Our CAT team members are all familiar with how to look those numbers up and help you out.
On the note of the CAT team, Ryan is wondering if we happen to know, what would you estimate would be the most amount of stolens recovered in one night from the CAT team?
What do you think?
I think it was 8 in 4 hours?
Could be 8.
Sounds about right.
About
like
8
4
in the
hours?
evening, yeah. Yep.
a lot of other comments saying, thanks for the follow-up about last Friday. A couple more folks wondering what exactly happened. So I don't know if that's worth recapping again, just for folks who have joined, because viewership is up a bit.
Well, just going to say that at about the 2-hour mark, we received information that one of our most wanted suspects that involved in carjackings and auto thefts, we had information about where he was, Gerald Smith, and we couldn't really actively pursue while we're live on patrol. We know Gerald is actually, we know that he's actually monitors our live on patrol. And so, we just had to shut down. We hoped we were going to catch him in a half hour, 45 minutes. As it turned out, we kept getting new leads on where he might be. And we did spot a stolen car that we know he was driving earlier, but it was parked. So I'm just going to tell this story, even though I shouldn't. It's no secret to Gerald, but once in a while when we have permission to track, we do put little trackers on stolen cars. And we knew Gerald was driving a stolen Saturn View. And we did put a tracker on that car. And guess what? He or someone else found it and removed it off the stolen car and put it on another car. And we ended up following a non-stolen car. And Alex actually talked to the owner, correct?
Yes.
So there you have it. It's a game of intrigue sometime when you're out there, and not all the time do we win. But I always say the wheels of justice turn slowly, but they always keep turning. What else you got?
Robin,
Oh, you want to say something?
Well, just on that front, I think when you talk about that, we also don't do it on every car. We reserve it for the worst of the worst, and because he's such a continuing danger to the public,
Right.
that the public safety interest outweighed
Right.
the immediate recovery of the vehicle,
Right.
because there are some other extenuating factors, but it's safer to sometimes arrest people in a car versus going into a home.
Right. Well, there's no question if we don't have any threats of violence or the suspect isn't wanted for carjacking, we'll just generally recover the cars. But when we have an opportunity to catch someone who's actively sticking guns in people's faces and using force to stay at cars, we're going to do everything we can in our power to make sure that happens, because we need people like this off the street.
Absolutely.
Robin's wondering, she observed some erratic driving. Curious if that's an appropriate use to call 911 to report it.
Absolutely. The erratic driving is often a stolen car in today's world. Almost all the time when we get erratic driving complaints, those cars end up being stolen cars driven by young 15-year-olds.
Gary is wondering, for you two in particular, is being in law enforcement harder now than it was when you first started?
There's pros and cons to all of it. For me, it's not harder. I mean, for me, it's not, I don't have the same stresses that a beat cop on the street every day has. We get to pick and choose our battles here. But being an officer on the street in a squad car, you're running into far more guns, far more drugs, far more violence. I mean, the homicide rate was a fraction of what it is now. We never had automatic weapons really on the street when we were younger.
Very rare.
In fact, when we started, most people were carrying revolvers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's far more dangerous today, and we're lucky. And that's why you have a lot of people not wanting to come into the job. Plus, I think we've turned a corner, but for the last couple of years, there's been a lot of people that haven't really liked the cops. Well, we don't know the number, but more than it used to be when we worked on the street.
There seems to be a lot more confrontational behavior by a lot of people that the young street officers are running into, which doesn't even need to exist. Without it would make so many situations go so much easier.
Yep.
Some confusion around CAT
Yeah.
and CAD. Can we talk about the difference between
Yeah.
those two?
CAT stands for Carjacking and Auto Theft Unit. They pursue carjackers and auto thieves. That's their primary goal. CAD is computer-aided dispatch. Computer-aided dispatch, and it really is. We have Panasonic. what do they call tough books, right?
Bucks, yep.
Panasonic tough books in all the squad cars. But I know some people thought CAT stand for Criminal Apprehension Team. We actually do have a team here that's called the Ramsey Apprehension Team. Ramsey Apprehension Team. And so it's not criminal. So CAT is for auto thieves. RAT is for apprehension.
Ginny's curious if we recover many stolen vehicles from the Shoreview area, any of the contract cities in particular.
I don't know, Alex, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, it ebbs and flows, obviously, but yeah, we recover cars from all over the county. No city is immune to having them dumped or stolen. And you know, when the last group was really at their height, they were going into that's the target becomes the suburbs because people are a little more relaxed sometimes with their security, or they forget their key fob in their car and stuff like that. So yep, we do recover cars from Shoreview.
We had one recovered in a park up in the northern suburbs last night. Looks like it was dumped there. We had another one recovered at the Norwood Inn. The blue Mazda that we were looking for, that was recovered this morning over there at the Norwood Inn. So it's not unusual. Usually when they're in the suburbs, they're being dumped or no longer used. If they're going to use them again, they'll park them in some type of a remote location that we might not drive by.
Eric had a question and a thought about, have we ever thought about using paintball guns to mark stolen vehicles, whether we're pursuing or we have them in the street, or what are our thoughts on that?
We have thought about that. That's not a terrible idea. We actually have thought about that. We have Star Chase, which actually now we mark them with a remote transmitter. But yes, having a color coding to mark a stolen car from a distance is not a bad idea. But we don't do it now.
Yeah, questions are winding down.
Sure.
And so I don't have any more good ones right now.
That's all right. Pat, you got anything else you want to wrap us up with? I mean, any other comments? I'll look for item of the day. Well, we got kind of the turtle as item of the day, actually, huh?
Just, I just can't say more about the CAT team and the work they do. They have made Ramsey County and every city within Ramsey County just a little bit safer with everything they've been doing. It's an honor to work with those deputies.
Now, having said that, even though we were called away, we are going to try to make that up to you with some extra broadcasts this week because, we still, even though we don't have to feel guilty, we do feel guilty. I mean, there's truth to that. So we'll have some extra broadcasts. Alex has volunteered to work some extra nights with us as well. But one last thing I want to say, in the next 3 weeks, the Minnesota legislature is going to decide what is going to happen regarding the crime bill. And right now it looks like the Senate bill and the House bill are significantly far apart. We were hoping that there would be some reconciliation and compromise, but it's looking more and more like that might not happen. So if you can call your legislator in Minnesota and tell them you want some movement on the crime bills, both House and Senate, let's find some middle ground and let's put some of those $9.6 billion in resources to work to actually fight crime and make our community a safer place. So the other thing we're sad about is the Wild loss last night here in Minnesota. 4-0, I heard the score was, huh?
It's painful.
But if you come down to the next Wild game, look for Rev Spence down there on West 7th Street. He'll be down there working security for us. So thank you so much, and we'll see you. Probably Pat and I will probably be, what do you think, tomorrow or Thursday? What do you got? You got something?
I can't Thursday.
Okay, tomorrow?
Tomorrow would work.
Tomorrow afternoon we'll get out in the squad and bring you up to speed. So thanks so much.
Take care, folks. Continue to be kind.
Thank you.